watched the car recklessly drive in my direction. I was a deer in headlights as I stared at the driver, texting and laughing. The car was inches away from my face when I felt the impact to my side. Everything was blurry for a while, and then it cleared. When I finally realized that there was a Chinese man hovering over me, I jumped, scooting backwards ever so slightly. "You okay?" he asked, grabbing my hand to pull me up with his sandpaper-like hands. He had a bloody cut from his cheekbone to his chin, and I guess it was from saving me. Pain shooting up my body, I thanked the man and waited for the tirade my mom was going to give me. "What were you thinking?" she yelled at me as she ran across the crosswalk. I wiped the dirt off my pants and shook my head, trying to get the memory gone. My sister Dottie whined and struggled against the stroller straps. I unbuckled the straps and picked her up with a grimace because my right arm throbbed when I moved it. I decided it would be a better idea to pick her up with my left arm instead. Shakily, I hugged her tight and felt her warm, rosy cheeks against my face. As the Chinese man watched intently, the tears started. People had started to crowd around us as murmurs swept over them like a blanket. My mom pulled me toward her and I cried on her shoulder for who knows how long. "Well, I'm going to go now," the Chinese man said as he started to walk away, his stride as springy as a kangaroo. "Wait," my mom said, grabbing his ratty jacket sleeve. "What's your name?" she asked him, her pretty olive skin seemed to glisten in the afternoon's blazing sun. "Po Su Young, but you can call me Po," he said, glancing back and forth between me and my mom. He walked away without turning around to look at us, not even once. I woke up in the hospital after a long night. I remember the ambulance, my dad, and the cast. I already hated the cast, and it hadn't even been 24 hours yet. My mom was asleep on the cot next to the hospital bed. Dad must have gone home with Dottie, I thought, trying hard to move as little as possible. I stared at the ceiling for a long time before my mom finally woke up. She stood up and yawned. "Are you okay, honey?" she asked, obviously trying to look at my stomach without me noticing, but she failed. I looked at my stomach and noticed the bandage wrapped around my whole torso. After I looked back up at my mom with a gaping mouth and saw her grimace, I remembered the rest of the night. After I got in the ambulance and was put on a stretcher, I overheard the nurses talking. They were talking to each other like I didn't even exist. We gotta get her to the hospital, and quick," a man with a gravelly voice said. I felt the quick, fragile hands working rapidly on my torso. I winced every time her gentle hands barely touched my thin frame. "If that guy didn't push her out of the way, she would surely be dead right now," she says, her voice like honey. I smiled only in my brain. I was in way too much pain to smile on the outside. She felt pretty hard, though. It may cause some permanent damage. My smile quickly withered into a pang of longing. Once we got to the hospital, they rushed me inside, spitting medical words at each other like venom. I tried to focus on the squeak of the stretcher instead of the constant jab in my abdomen and arm. Screaming with fierceness, my dad called my name. "Annabelle!" Then I couldn't hear him anymore. The ER nurses pushed open a pair of double doors and led me into an operating room. They quickly called in the doctor and gave me a shot in my upper arm. I fell asleep instantly. "Mom," I grunted, after coming back from my flashback. She rushed over to me and squeezed me tight. After a couple minutes, she let go and looked me in the eyes. "You were having some crazy dreams last night," she said, obviously trying to change the subject. "You were growling some crazy things. I feel like I even heard below the house," which makes no sense, she said with a chuckle. I tried to laugh too, but quickly stopped due to the sharp pains in my stomach. I laid my head back onto the thin hospital pillow and sighed as deep as my wounded body would take. By the end of the day, I was home and back in my bed. I had already taken the prescribed medicine the hospital gave me and was resting in my bed with my dog, Chewy, at my side. Tail wagging, I smiled at my cute dog. The doctor said there would be no permanent damage. Phew, I thought. I laid my head up on my pillow and drifted off to sleep after what seemed like the longest day of my life.